Hey everybody, it's Mr. G. This is Just Corvette Crazy. For those of you who are returning, it's nice to see you again. For those of you who are here for the very first time, please subscribe to the channel. There's lots of Corvette content coming up. What we're going to be doing today is working on the C6 ZR1, and we're going to be installing a permanent type of a connector for our battery maintainer. So if you're tired of having to open the hatch or open the hood to put on your battery maintainer, this might be the solution for you. Stay tuned. Hey folks, this is Mr. G and welcome to Just Corvette Crazy. On this channel we talk about Corvettes, we fix some Corvettes, and we love to drive our Corvettes. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out a lot. Thanks. Okay, so before we get started, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a rundown of the parts that we're using and how we're going to connect them. So what I did is, you normally get something that looks like this. This is called an SAE type connector, and that's what's going to be in your package from your battery maintainer. And then on the other end, I have these two terminals that are going to go to the positive and to the negative of the battery. Nice thing is they're fused. It's very important to make sure they are fused. So this connector is going to plug into this connector. This is actually an SAE to SAE panel mount connector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end and it will plug into the other cable like so. This end has actually a place to mount onto a panel with a rubber cap. There is a place big enough to mount this above the rear license plate on the C6 Corvette. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to mount this so that the plug here is external to the car. The rest is permanently connected to your battery. When you need to put your battery onto the maintainer or to the tender, all you have to do is plug into there from outside the car. So you don't need to open the hatch and connect it to the battery and all that kind of stuff, and therefore having the cord come out through the hatch like everybody does. This will be all external to the car. Another great benefit of this, since this is external to the car, and everybody knows on the C6 Corvette that if your battery goes dead, you can't get into the car. So you have to use your key, open up the hatch, pull some levers to get the door open, etc., etc., etc. So in this particular case, this is going to be external to the car. So if your battery dies, all you got to do is plug it in without having to worry about getting into the car. So let's go through the procedure. So here we are in the back hatch area. Underneath the carpet is our battery location. So what we're going to end up doing is connecting the lug ends permanently to the battery. We're going to feed the cable up under the carpet through the back bumper area and then come out at the license plate. So let me show you where the license plate is going to be. So here we are right above the license plate on the rear of the car, and you'll see that there's an area right here that's open into the back bumper, and that's where we're going to install the panel connector. So basically it's going to hang right here so we can plug and unplug in that location. So the first thing we have to do is remove this carpet, or at least loosen it out. So over on the side right above the battery, there is a little clip. Basically it's just threads in. This is where you're going to hook your rear netting or your cover. So you're going to remove that. And what that does is it allows the corner to come out of the carpet. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually feed the cable through a grommet. So right above the battery, halfway up, there's actually a grommet that goes out into the bumper, and we're going to feed the cable through there. So I'll see if I can get that on camera for you. Alright, so you can see there's a grommet. So we're right above the battery, about halfway up. There's a grommet that goes through the rear panel. And what we're going to do is we're going to feed our wire through that grommet onto the inside and behind the bumper. So there is enough room to actually do this without having to remove the whole rear carpet, but you can remove the rear carpet if you want to. So again, there's that grommet. So just see if we can light it up. There we go. There's the grommet there that we're going to be feeding through. The other thing that we need to do is we need to remove this tail light so that we can get access to that wire that's being pulled through and to connect our panel mount. So to remove the tail light, it is a Torx 15. So there's a single Torx screw at the top of the tail light. So we're going to back that screw out. And then grab that little tab and just pull the taillight forward and let it rest. So now, looking inside, you can actually see the grommet that we're going to be going through. So right there, that's the grommet we're going to be coming through with our cable. And we're going to feed that cable along and have it come out the hole above the license plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the nut from the panel mount connector. I'm going to feed the connector through the hole above the license plate. Put the nut back on. Position where I want. And thread it on. And you're going to get it as tight as you can get it. So this is what the connector looks like now. So we've got the rubber cap. So when we want to charge, we're going to remove the rubber cap and plug in our SAE connector. So now we're just going to do the rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a very small cut in the side of this grommet so that I could squeeze this cable through. So a very small cut in the side of that grommet, just so that I can squeeze that cable through and keep a tightest fit as I can. So I poked a very small hole in the side of this grommet, and I'm going to feed my cable through and pull it out the other side. So you can see here, I have fed the wire through the grommet, pulled it out on the inside of the car. So on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed this end up from underneath leave enough for the battery connections. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug these two together, and I'm going to put a little bit of tape on them, a little bit of electrical tape, so that I don't have to worry about these two separating behind the carpet. So it's a nice tight fit. So now I'm going to throw a little bit of electrical tape on it so that I don't have to worry about it. And then all that's left to do is connect to the battery. So there we are, all attached to the battery. So what we're going to do is going to plug in our tender just to make sure that everything is working properly before we put everything back together. So, got the maintainer. I've plugged it in to that panel jack above the license plate. It's reading our battery and giving it a charge. So, I'm going to start putting everything back together. So we're going to reassemble the back. So I've pushed the carpet back into place. Can drop the battery compartment closed. Put my carpet back in place. And remember, we did take out one little hook. So we'll put that back in place. Go. Now, going to put the tail light back. For the tail light, it's just the opposite of removing. So identify the top of the tail light. Feed your wires in. Jiggle it in. Bottom goes in first, and then the top will set in. Start your torque screw by hand. Once it gets going, finish it off. So, here's what we've got. The panel connector. So what I'm going to do, I'll unplug, cover it up, and whenever I want to put the battery maintainer on, off with the cap. And plug in the maintainer. And we're all set. Alright, so that completes this episode. Again, installing a permanent connector for a battery maintainer in a C6 Corvette. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you find it helpful. If you have not subscribed, please do so. There's lots more material coming up. Until next time, Mr. G says, keep the rubber side down, everybody. Take care.